Hello, my name is Sebastian Uhlmann. I work as a fisheries biologist for the Institute for Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, ILVO. So my talk is about the Big Bang or the soft whistle, expected changes to the European fisheries as we know them under the landing obligation. The landing obligation is a new policy law that is being now fully implemented since the 1st of January 2019. And it obliges fishers to bring back ashore any of a given species catches of a quota or size regulated species. So this is a policy that has been implemented to actually stimulate more selective fishing, because it's inducing some costs to the fishers if they start to bring back unavailable catches, for example, undersized species. So it's been really introduced to reduce that waste of living resources and to stop that practice of discarding, throwing back unwanted catches at sea. But any big policy change may have some undesired consequences, some side effects, next to the desired outcomes. So I've listed here some of those fears, if you want to call it like this, associated with the landing obligation. So one of the key desired outcomes would be that it actually contributes to management of fisheries stocks at MSY, so maximum sustainable yield, because essentially if you actually become more selective, you are reducing fishing mortality. But the fear was that it's actually not happening and that there's no recovery of the stocks happening. But healthier stocks would also contribute to more profitable fisheries. So the blue growth kind of phenomenon. But there has been a fear that because it does induce possibly some costs to fishers, that there's going to be an economic downturn for the sector. One of the desired outcomes was also to have more healthier ecosystems. But there's been a fear that because then you're bringing back the biomass that was previously discarded at sea, actually ashore, that possibly some populations of scavengers, which may have relied upon these food subsidies, may crash. And also that there's been a better and full documentation of what has actually been taken out of the system. But there's been a fear that there is poor data quality because if some illegal discarding still continues and we don't know about it. And finally, that this policy was meant to create a stewardship mentality, but the fear was that maybe fishers are really opposing this policy because it's been imposed onto them top down. Just to summarize very quickly now some results from two Horizon 2020 projects, which basically wanted to evaluate whether there's any truth in some of these fears and also make sure that we can see some of those desired outcomes. So they really wanted to evaluate the impact of the landing obligation on the economy, ecosystems, fisheries management and culture. So for the first one, and this is based on model predictions, in this case, stock assessment models. For the fish stocks, there's been some predictions that yes, there will be a recovery, but only if fishers really fully comply to that policy. On the economic level, as I said, yes, there are some costs associated with this, and this is also showing up in the bioeconomic models that there is some decrease likely. For the ecosystems, there will be little disruptions to the food web. It's been predicted that possibly bird populations may suffer the most. And for the full documentation desired outcome, we can already see that there's very little reported of actually these unwanted catches, because they would have to report this now since the 1st of January. So we possibly have poorer data at the moment. And for the stewardship mentality, yes, there's more discourse about the policy because of all this research that has been done and the management implication it has. But also because we are really shifting the attention from a landing to a catch regime in the fisheries management. We are really recording history at the moment, and we've combined efforts, and together with Clara Ulrich and Steve Kennelly, we've published a book recently which you can download from the website from Springer. So that's it.